What's up, y'all? Ike's Boom Boom Room, the sixth installment, part two of my two-parter podcast split in half series here. The first episode, if you have not watched, came out a few days ago. It is covering my top five most anticipated games coming out next year. However, this installment will be focused on my top five favorite games of the year, top five favorite games of 2024. I could do some honorable mentions to round it out to make a top 10, but I will not be doing that. Look out for some more top 10s coming out throughout the year, the beginning of January, when I'm doing after I finish my sweep of just rounding up, movies and TV shows to watch that I haven't gotten to yet. This is the time I usually like to do it. Let me know what your favorite game of the year was. Let me know if I spoke on one of your favorite games of the year. Tell me if I said something you agree with, something you disagree with. Shine some light, inform me, please. If you like the video, please let me know by liking the actual video. Hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please share. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you really enjoy. All right, starting right off, number 5 in my top 5 favorite games of 2024. Pokemon TCGP trading card game Pocket. It came out really late in the year. I did not have any mobile game in my top 5 at the time before this came out. I was a little bit interested in Boltaro. I think that's how you pronounce it. I know what game I'm talking about. The game that teaches you how to be a FanDuel degenerate when you turn 18 or 21. I don't know the legal age of gambling. I don't do that. And it was cool, but it didn't enrapture me the way Pokemon Pocket did. I'm just going to call it Pokemon Pocket from now on. Although Boltaro taught me how to play poker, I don't know how to play poker. Only card game I really know how to play is 21. And, in the same way Pokemon taught me how to play the actual trading card game, it didn't immerse me in the culture of, I don't even know if there is a culture when it comes to poker. There probably is, but again, gotta go into those certain spaces. I've always been into Pokemon. I used to collect the cards when I was a kid. I'm sure I've had, plenty of Charizards that now go for like damn near $1 million. And it makes me sick to my stomach when I think about it. I also think about how I used to take the little gems that came with it that was supposed to represent energy and used to just like put them in my mouth and like chew them and like swish them around and shit like that. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a small child. They shouldn't have shipped those for small children. But I never knew the rules, and this game taught me the rules. It's a very simple game. I've been trying to get into Magic. I've been trying to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And I might just stick with Pokemon. Beyond the opening up packs aspect of it all, that's the other thing. It actually got me into the actual physical trading card game. I would love to act like I'm, one of these guys that know that there's microtransactions, and so therefore I don't engage with that. But I had to learn the hard way playing a Yu-Gi-Oh game called Duel Links for many, many years and I have to have put over $1,000 into that game already, and now I just don't even play the game anymore. It doesn't follow the actual trading card rules, and I just got really soaked into that. So playing this game, I did not do any microtransactions, and you don't need microtransactions the way you do in a card game like Duel Links, and that's what makes me like it even more. But it did make me get into the actual physical trading card game, because at least then I can treat it like it's actual like asset. If I pull something super rare, you know what I mean? And also, I like opening up physical packs. I like smelling the cards. I like feeling them on my fingers and stuff like that. But, it introduced me to because I'm into the trading card game and the video game, I feel like a lot of people have also kind of jumped on to the actual physical card game the way I jumped onto it because of Pokemon Pocket. And now I'm like immersed in, like, there's like a meme going on where you get god pulls if you just happen to unpack a card in your car, because a lot of people are doing that now on Twitter, X, whatever you want to say. And it's the game I've been playing the most. It's on the go, it's right here on my phone, and I can't wait for that new pack to come out with Mew. And I think there's some card, I forget, I think it's a Tauros, that pretty much makes the Pikachu EX like obsolete at this point. It's gonna be pretty crazy. I'm gonna have to say goodbye to my Mew Devour deck. I love that deck. More deck recipes, please. Mobile games or games. That's my top 5. My number 4. My number 4 goes to Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade is my 4th favorite game of 2024. Not Black Myth Wukong. I decidedly joined the Gooner camp instead of the Go Woke, Go Broke camp, just for the simple fact that the Gooners at least seem slightly happier with life than the other crowd. The controversy, I'm not gonna lie, kept me away from Black Myth Wukong. I wasn't paying attention to it that much, but I had been paying attention to Stellar Blade ever since it was called Project Ava, and it was announced for, I forget which game event, or I don't even know if E3 was still going on during this time, but I have been paying attention to that game. Even though it's one of my favorite games of this year, I have not beaten it yet. I plan on getting back into it, especially with the Nier DLC, the Nier Automata. I always mess up that game with 2B and the big booty and the missing eye and the scarf. But yeah, that whole update, I'm looking forward to jumping back into it. I have it physical. I got it early, broke street date with it, streamed it, and it was robbed of recognition at the Game Awards. At least that's how I feel. I don't think it got many nominations, and I like the combat of it. It actually, not just because she's sexy, but it also reminds me of the Bayonetta days, just because, we had a lot of the same discussions about, gooners and pretty video game girls that we had when Bayonetta came out, and now Bayonetta is just like a staple in that genre of female like protagonists. Just serving cunt, no matter which way, which game, when, where, how, what platform she's on. Just because you strip her from the big boy consoles and put her on Nintendo Switch don't mean she's still not serving cunt. So she's an icon, and I think Eve has a chance to be that as well. But just beyond the sexiness and appeal of that, just the combat, Bayonetta came out during a time where like the hack and slash genre was super popular, like DMC, and now you have Stellar Blade reflecting Souls-like action RPG elements of gameplay that we've seen in action RPG games recently. And yeah, it's the Bayonetta of this generation. And that's not a bad thing to be. Metaphor Refantasio. That came out of nowhere for me. I was not paying attention to this. I am just so exhausted from Atlas RPGs. I'm still trying to beat Persona 5 Royal. I'm like 90 hours into the game. I'm like this close from beating it. I thought the final boss was the final boss. Apparently he's not the final boss, or if he is the final boss, I just haven't run out of days on the calendar. Nonetheless, this game really just it feels like a copy and paste in terms of just nameless, speechless protagonists being like dropped off into this new world of, magical, mystical stuff that's attached to like the well-being of society, also breaking down aspects of society. But it takes the high school kind of backdrop from most of those Persona games and just drops it into like a medieval kind of setting, which is very different for Atlas, and it kind of speaks on a lot of stuff that, at least in Western culture, because it's a electoral year, and really hones in on kind of stuff that's going on with us. And I kind of felt like it wasn't going to get any recognition because of that. This is one of those games that's had a real slow start of gaining traction and recognition, and that's mostly because it doesn't have that Persona household name. I think Persona is more known than Atlas is in terms of names in the gaming world. But the Game Awards did shine a huge light on it. It got Game of the Year recognition, I believe. It got a ton of recognition throughout the multiple categories. I think it won RPG of the Year over Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I do love this game. I have not beaten it yet. My best buddy brought it over. When he came over, I got about maybe 3 to 5 hours into it. I really, really enjoyed what I was seeing. Really enjoyed the game. And I have it now. It's hermetically sealed over here. I plan on opening this and playing some more during a stream coming up soon. The gameplay is really fun. Like I said, it feels like Persona. I love turn-based RPGs. It's my jam. Yeah. Silent Hill 2. I have thoughts about Silent Hill 2. I actually want to talk about Silent Hill 2 around Halloween time, October time, but I just was nowhere near close to beating the game, and I wanted to have at least beaten the game before I spoke about it in full. It's a great horror game. I think what makes a horror game a great horror game, an effective horror game, is if it scares you. Does it have a good story? Does it have good gameplay? Does it scare you? Checks all the boxes. Instantly makes Silent Hill 2 a great game, but I think it fails as a Silent Hill 2 remake just because it's unable to capture the spirit of the original game. You just can't. It just wasn't. It was made during a time, lightning in the bottle situation. The graphical places we were at the time lended itself to an atmosphere, to a sort of play style, riggedy voice mechanics, voiceovers, and silly cues. I feel like the original Silent Hill plays more like a dramatization, and this remake is more of a stage play. That's the biggest differences I can muster in to show the differences between the two as far as presentation goes. I saw somebody saying this, I forget who it was, probably that Cappy Barris girl on Twitter who got shouted out for shitting on Edgar's Nosferatu, which good for her. That's what she deserves. I don't follow her for that. She was basically like, when I saw that they had to put a blanket over the body in front of the TV that's sitting in the chair in the apartments because graphics are so good that you will be able to tell that that is a James stand-in corpse. Unlike in the original, because the graphics are so ham-ho, so where they are at the time, you can't really tell that at that point, the developer should have been like, what the hell are we doing? And it really is like that. It's like, all right, as a remake, you do what you can, you do what you're supposed to do, I should say, which is graphical enhancement. But what happens when those graphical enhancements robs from the presentation of the story? You know what I mean? Another moment in presentation that I think they mess up, dramatization versus stage play, when Mary gets killed, or Maria rather, gets killed in the elevator and gets stabbed. In the original, there's like music that plays that washes over James as he's in the elevator. And then when he gets out of the elevator and you get control of him again, the music is still playing. And there's no moment like that in any other point in the game. But in this one, it's just right back to silence, like nothing happened. No music score, no nothing, no dramatization, just a stage play. You're just left to contemplate how he's feeling, and there's no somber tone. And I usually hate music manipulation, but there was something artful to that in the original, and it's just not there. So it's not able to capture the spirit, but it is faithful in that it really keeps attention to detail with what made all of the like fan rumors from the original in this one, down to putting Mary's body in the backseat of James's car, which I had no idea was a thing until this game. That's so incredible to me. Just like listening to Ito, I forget how you say his first name, but Ito, he's like the monster designer for the first one and this one, or the original and this one, just talking about how that was a real thing, about how In Water was the one the developers put most of their heart into making, and all the endings. Not that that's the canonical ending, but it's just the one that they put the most effort into. And how not putting her body in the trunk of a car but putting it in the back seat is a difference between Western and Japanese cultures, and how he still honored his wife, and how it was like a dual sacrificial be with her in the grave type thing, instead of like a murder trying to get away with the murder type deal, putting her in the back seat like most Westerners would do. Great acting. I feel like my man, I forget the actor's name, should have won in the Video Game Awards for Best Performance. The sound design, top notch. The lore is as provocative as ever. I really just, after I beat the game, I watched all the endings because the replay value just wasn't there for me. Unfortunately, it may be there for some, not for me. And I just got real enraptured in watching, shit about the lore, the original, the new one. It's really great. So yeah, that's my number 2, I believe. My number 2 favorite game of 2024. My number 1 favorite game of 2024, I feel like is a lot of people's favorite game of 2024, the year of RPGs, and that's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I don't know what I can say that I haven't already said that hasn't already been said. If you look back on this channel, you can see that the content really started back when that game came out, and I did extensive coverage with it. Did streams, did some podcast episodes, some before and afters. Me and my best bud got to play it early during New York Comic Con 2023 demo for it, which did the opening section flashback with Sephiroth and Cloud, and then again in the area just outside of the mines, that rocky area, and you get to ride your chocobos for the first time, pretty much your land chocobos. Is not a game this year that I've put more hours into. I remember last year that game for me was Baldur's Gate. I put well over 100 hours into that game, and anytime I put over 100 hours into a game, that means I really, really love that game. It's already in contention for my game of the year, and this game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, was no different. I think by the end of it, I hit around 130 hours, something like that, and most of that was just like enjoying the gameplay loop. And the gameplay loop is vastly different than it is in the original. This one feels more, it's the most Western aspect of this new Final Fantasy VII remake, is the gameplay loop where you're just taking on objectives, you're scanning all the monsters in the area, you're doing all the missions in an area until you can't anymore, and then you have to progress, and then maybe you have to backtrack when you unlock another thing as you progress, and so on and so forth. I really enjoyed that gameplay loop. It was very, very fun. It was very different from what I expected it to be. It was completely different than what you got in the remake, where it was all sequential. I love that they just put you into a sandbox and told you to go have fun in given areas. Really great stuff. So, what made me love the game wasn't just, the name Final Fantasy VII, the brand name, the nostalgia for Final Fantasy VII. It was a lot of the new stuff, especially that gameplay loop. There was just so much newness to explore, and that's what really made me put that many hours into it and sink my teeth into it. The card game as well was so much fun. Queen's Blood. So Queen's Blood was so much fun. I usually don't get caught up in those little mini games, especially when it's Final Fantasy mini games, unless it's like Blitzball or something like that. But this one was really fun. I love that they made it part of the storyline, at least the side quest storylines, once you get down to like the end portion of it. I love the section in the boat when you get to play it amongst all the people on the boat as you're transitioning from one area of the map to the other. That was really cool. I love how they changed Red 13 up. At first I was a little apprehensive about it, but by the end of it, I really enjoyed what they did with Red 13. I love how they built on everybody. They beefed up Tifa's storyline, they beefed up Yuffie's storyline, they beefed up Barrett's storyline. I love the Gongaga stuff. I love all the changes, not all the changes, I love some of the changes to the overall story. Like, how they had the gang almost team up with the Turks, all the new Nibelheim stuff. But, there are some things that I did not like. Like, why are these people still alive? Why are you specifically still alive, sir? Why am I playing as you? You should never be alive in a Final Fantasy VII game where all of these events are taking place. You are a Nexus event. Your death is a Nexus event. You should not be here. I don't want to see you in the third game, but I'm going to see you in the third game. I love where they leave you in the third game. I love like how the black materia is like now in his sword. I think I bitched about this before, but how come you get to get a secret slot in your sword, but I can't use that secret slot? You know what I mean? He just shoves that black materia into his sword. Why can't I do that? I have to put him in the little notches. But yeah, it's my game of the year. Yeah. Tell me your game of the year. What was your game of the year? Was it Final Fantasy VII? It was probably Final Fantasy VII, wasn't it?